Welcome to Three Conservative Gimps, conservative talk for you to hear. Because we won't be censored here. We are going to give you everything you need to make an informed decision and pick the best people to run your city, your county, your state, and your country. So, welcome to the show. We got a great show today. A lot of stuff happened over the week that's very interesting. So, let's get this going on the road. Let's welcome all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma. It's the effervescent Lloyd Mendenhall. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? How you doing,
We're
Art?
doing good.
Oh man, what a crazy week in the news.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, it
So,
just makes you shake your head and wonder what the hell country we're living in.
yeah, true that. True that.
Yeah.
So, how's the weather there in your neck of the woods?
Well, it was raining last night, thunderstorms. Today it's hot. It's I think about it's not extremely hot, but it's almost 90 degrees right now. It was 90 a little
Wow.
earlier, but we got thunderstorms coming in here pretty quick, so and
Well,
we're expected to have thunderstorms all week long. So
it's
you know,
been cool and cloudy today, and expecting rain a little later today. So,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Well, it'd be nice
Yep.
if it's cool here, but we're running about, 75% humidity and in the upper 80s. Oh, I'm sorry. It looks like not quite 70% humidity, but it's still humid enough. We
Right.
live in Oklahoma, so yeah. Yep. Yep.
All
Blah,
right,
blah, blah,
let's
blah.
welcome all the way from the great Northeast. It's that blue state, but he's conservative. Let's welcome, he's in charge. It's Charles. Welcome,
Hey
welcome.
everybody. Hey Art, Lloyd.
Hey, Charles, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Can't complain. Just hot and humid, like I said. I just looked. It's
Yeah.
53% humidity, so it's muggy. So
Well, gonna be getting that way here.
yeah. It's going to be a rough summer. It's going to be one of them weird summers too, because we're supposed to have uh, an El Nino, a
Yep,
super El Nino, is
yep.
what I've read. So it's like I said, going to be a weird summer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
my
But
unusually wet here in Colorado. Wet and cool. So
yeah,
everything's green. Normally, at this time of year, it starts turning brown and with chance
yeah,
of fire. Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the way it is here too. Boy, sorry, I was looking. I got a monitor. Judy's in the living room here, and I'm watching her. But something has happened to one of my cameras. It's getting some weird. Its color is not working right. I don't know what it's done, but
Well, Lloyd, you're missing something.
what am I missing?
Yeah, you got a gap between your.
Yeah, I forgot to put it in. Yeah, I had there's Judy's been having kind of a rough day, and I did. It started out all right, but then she discovered on the pillow that's behind her. She sleeps on about three pillows, and about the second one back, she discovered the dogs had brought her a present from outside.
oh geez.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a
oh,
dead bird on her pillow, and so
oh.
Oh my
I got
goodness.
her
Well, she
out.
needed
Yeah,
a treatment.
yeah, she did. Well, she's deathly scared of birds because her dad raised fighting roosters, and
Oh,
she's had them attack her. She'd have to go out there and gather eggs from the hens, and then when she was a kid, they had an outhouse, but it was on the other side of the chicken coop, and you had to go through the chicken coop to and yeah, so she get attacked by those birds, and they've just petrified her ever since. 'Cause it started when she was just a little bitty thing when she started walking, and it's hard to, you say the outhouse. Yeah, it's hard to believe that, in today's modern times, people have still used outhouses up until about the last, I think about 20 years ago, maybe. They finally, one of the last blocks that still had outhouses on them, finally were forced to get sewer. So, you know, and that was in town. So,
Mm.
but
Wow.
they lived in the country anyway. So it's, uh, uh, and Mike says nobody ever brings him a dead bird. Yeah. Well, I wasn't too fond of the idea myself. And of course, we got feather pillows, which turns out one of them had a hole in it. So there was feathers. There's white feathers from the feather pillow, and there's dark feathers from the bird. And I just said, just go in the living room after the show. I'm going to strip the bed, clean it up. I threw out the old pillow, and let's just not worry about it. So she's had kind of a
Well,
stressful day.
speaking of birds, how about this indictment that just came down? Wow. It's just like, I mean, they are just going after this guy. I mean, they are just, they're
Yes.
scared to death of him. And it's like, why? Your idea should be good enough to defeat him. What? I guess it's that mentality. We gotta win at any cost, even if it breaks the law. We'll do it.
My cousin brought up a point, and I've thought about it, and there might be some truth to it. But you got one investigation going on over the Hunter Biden, and the investigation ongoing about the taking bribes, and the Biden family taking bribes, and all of that stuff's going on. Then you've got this indictment of Donald Trump, and he said, "Do you think they're trying to? You think both parties are working together to get rid of the leaders of the in other words, the Democrats are trying to get rid of Biden, and the Republicans or the never Trumper groups are trying to get rid of Trump so that they can have a whole new set of players, and
That could
makes me
be
want to
because
makes me
he's the
want to go
one
out and
that,
get my tinfoil hat.
yeah, he's the one that upset the apple cart.
Yeah,
Exposing the insiders. The establishment. The SWAT, so to speak.
right, right. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's it's strange that we've got this going on, and that this has never happened. And the worrisome thing is the fact that he is currently the leading candidate for the opposition party at the moment. Uh, and they're trying to take him down, and it's being done under Biden's DOJ.
Yep. Hmm.
And that just it sounds like something you hear out of Mexico or the
Yeah.
Soviet Union or
Hmm.
Central America or South America. This
Right.
is third world country
Banana
politics.
Republic style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Banana Republic, exactly.
Uh,
Mickey McKay said the Uniparty wants to eliminate President Trump. They do,
mm,
you know. Uh, I'm just, I just have to shake my head every day I open up and look at a news feed. I'm just, oh my God, what else are they going
mhm.
to come up with? You
And,
know,
and what does this indictment pertain to?
his handling of classified documents.
Right.
Now, I read today that one of his lawyers, not the cowards that quit, but one of his current lawyers that's still working for him, said that she's informing him not to take a plea deal because he didn't
Right.
do anything wrong.
Hmm.
And they're going to use the Presidential Powers Act uh, as their defense.
Right.
In which he could declassify these. You know,
Hmm.
yeah, it wouldn't be such a. It wouldn't. Maybe we'd look at it differently if we didn't have all of those in the files, or all those files that were in the garage of Joe Biden. And he did not have the protection of the Presidential Powers Act when he took those home because he was the vice president and he can't declassify this stuff.
And he was a senator too.
And when he was a senator, he took home
And when
files
he
that,
was a senator, he wasn't even supposed to have those papers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes to show you how corrupt this government is. And
Hmm.
I mean, I never thought I'd see a day like this, but
Yeah, it's like one set of rules for one people and one. I mean, there's
Yeah, one for
no
me and another for thee.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
I mean, it's not equal justice. It's all, double standard. It's like,
yeah.
you know what they say about the Democrats? If it weren't for double standards, they wouldn't have
It didn't
any
have any
standards.
standards. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's about it. And the thing is we've got leadership in the Republican Party that's really not stepping forward and doing what they need to do to curtail some of this.
Hmm. Yeah, because
McCarthy,
it's going to blow back on them if Trump's out of the picture. Then the next guy is going to get it. So
yeah,
when does it end? I mean, all of this stuff has been going on since Watergate. You know,
yeah,
when
yeah.
Ronald Reagan was president, they were trying to get him for
The
Iran
Iran
Contra.
Contra. Yeah, yeah,
They tried to get George H.W. Bush, and then George W. Bush. It just never ends. And why the Republicans don't have what I would call a perpetual uh, uh, investigation on all Democrats.
yeah.
They don't do that. Democrats do it.
Hey, Doc
They
Murdoch.
have a perpetual uh, investigations on no matter who the candidate is. They're going to dig up dirt. They'll make up stuff. You know.
Yeah, and the Republicans. That's the thing. Mr. McCarter a couple weeks ago was talking. We were talking about they tend to they a lot of them are faith based, Christian based in their beliefs, and they believe in turn the other cheek. But it's time to quit turning the other cheek and start overturning a few tables
Yep.
in the synagogue. It's time to start raising a little hell about it because it's really got
Right.
to. We've got to stop this, and we're the only ones who can. Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily us three. We do our best, but we as conservatives need to start banding together and quit accepting this. That's the
Mm-hmm.
problem. We just keep accepting it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do anything about it. I'm not talking about you know marching on the marching on the White House is one thing. I'm not talking about a January 6th type thing. Uh, but I
Well, they
believe
still have
that
those fences up. I mean, I don't even think you could march on the White House. They wouldn't even let you into the outskirts of D.C.
no,
Right.
no,
Mm-hmm. Well, I say hello to Chris, Dr. Murdoch,
Doc
and
Murdoch
Mike B. Welcome to the show.
and Mika McH.
Yep.
But yeah, and it's just it's this is the with and I'll be honest with you, this is going to be one of those summers because of the way how squirrely the weather is, how
Mm-hmm.
squirrely the politics is, how cities that are running, you know, rampant with crime and they just don't want to do. I saw who was it the other day? One of the police organizations and another group have backed a Democrat because uh, and it's in a state where they don't like the Republican candidate, so they're backing the Democrat, even though it's a state that has had has been anti law enforcement, and
Right.
it's like
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand people's thinking. They're not thinking. That's the problem, and
Yeah.
we've got
Yeah.
to
Mm-hmm.
like we said, we got to start here at the lower levels because now we got schools that are being our schools have been taken over by the progressive movement. Uh, our cities have been taken over by the progressive movement. Our
Mm-hmm.
school boards, our city councils. You know,
Oh, and
Wh-
then parents are declared terrorist organizations.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Parents that speak out against the progressive movements uh, are being classified as terrorists.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
you
I
know,
want to say hello to Nancy. She's my friend from the Philippines,
oh,
also a
hello, Nancy.
conservative. Yep.
Yeah, it's just this country is not the country that I grew up in. And
Yeah.
I don't expect it to be the same. I expect the younger people to have their own ideas. They're supposed to, and they're supposed to. But when they're not being taught common sense to
Yeah.
begin with in the school system, we can't expect anything more out of it. We can expect it, but we're not going to get anything more out. We've got
Mm-hmm.
to, and here we are. All of us are, in the older side of things now.
Mm-hmm.
But we have kids. If you have kids that are in their 40s and 50s, you need to push them to start really working hard at getting rid of the progressive school boards, the progressive city councils. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's where we got to start this. We've got to start. Uh, and one of the things my cousin said, he says he thought it would be. He thinks he's one of those that he thought maybe if every American chose for 1 week not to participate. In other words, you don't go to work, you don't buy anything, you don't support the store. Just 1 week of that across America, people might start. That's how they got their freedom and that's how democracy was established in Poland. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the people band together. The problem is, and I've said this a long time ago. I said, because we got a lot of the conservatives are Christian. The problem is, I said if we ever had to fight a holy war against the Muslims, what holy war would we be defending? Would it be the Presbyterians, the Pentecostal holiness, the Baptists, the
Mm-hmm.
Catholics, the Lutherans? We can't seem to agree on a certain thing, so each one of us chooses. Well, if they're going to participate, I won't. But that's not the way it's supposed to work. We as conservative believers should be all banding should all be joining together
Yeah.
uh, to get our politics, cleared up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And don't forget that church that Hunter Biden goes to, the Crystal Methodist.
The Crystal Methodist, yeah. Well, I used to belong to Methodist Church. For what I've seen of them lately, they
Yeah, me too.
they
Oh.
might as well be the Crystal Methodist.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten so progressive in there. Of course, they're splitting. That's the other thing. They're no longer the United Methodist. They're all splitting.
Oh, okay. Guess they're
Yeah,
not that united then.
not anymore. They're not, and
Oh
it's
man.
because they've accepted. They've endorsed a lot of the progressive stuff. The inclusion
Mm-hmm.
stuff, the inclusiveness in their dogma. Even though when it was voted on, it was voted against by the conservative wings, and they voted not to accept it, but they went ahead and but it was at one of their general conferences, but they went ahead and did it anyways.
Mm.
And the progressive said, we're not going anywhere. So now, even though the conservative was the majority of the United Methodist Church, they're the ones being forced to leave.
Mm.
You know,
Ooh.
and this is the way it is in our government. As religion and government seem to be doing the same thing. We've got and the progressives are the minimum group. They're the minimum,
Yeah. They're
and
not a
yet they seem to.
majority.
They're not a majority. They're not the majority in the Democratic Party. They're not the majority of Americans, and yet they still seem to be running it. And we've got to figure this out and figure out what to do.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a group that's, indicting a sitting or a former president, you know, first time in history, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I think they tried. I think they wanted to do it to uh, President Grant, because his he had of course he was drunk. He's not
Yeah.
responsible because he had a drinking problem. So he wasn't responsible for the bad crap that happened in his White House. Yeah,
Well, you
and
had
he was.
Johnson before him,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They tried to
first
impeach
president
Johnson.
impeached, and then Bill Clinton. But Trump, hey, he topped that. He got impeached twice.
Twice. Yeah, yeah. And then they tried to impeach him when he was out of office.
Yeah,
Right? Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean,
just
really?
stupid on the face of it.
That made no sense whatsoever. I mean, just there's no
Well, they
As-
did that to try to prevent
Keep
him
you from running. Right.
for president.
Yeah.
And so that's why you have the indictment, and this is
Yes.
all smoke and mirrors just to try to prevent him from running for president, and to put the doubt in the minds of people that he's corrupt. But I think it had the opposite effect. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about Trump. But I'm not a never Trumper. I really like his policies. He did a lot of really good stuff, and he did some things no other president have ever done. Like, I don't know, have Arabs recognizing Israel, which has never happened in
Yeah.
almost 70 years of their existence. And so, how about that? And now they're making a big stink about, how the Trump kids got all these gifts, and while he was president. I mean, that doesn't compare to what Hunter Biden was getting. He was getting
Yeah.
what this he got this job that he wasn't qualified for, and they paid him something like what 50, $80,000 a month. I wish I got that kind of uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. And just setting aside, just all that said, uh, Biden is, all he's done, most of his adult life has been a politician.
Yeah,
50
he's
plus years as
never
a
had a
politician.
real job in
Right.
his life.
But yet he is wealthy beyond measure. It's
Yeah.
just,
Hmm.
I know they don't pay that much, you know.
Yeah. Well, a president only gets what 425,000 a year. Where Donald Trump didn't even. I think he took what $1, where
Yeah, I
where
think
he
so. He donated the
donated
rest of
all
it.
that money.
He
Yeah.
donated all that money. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then you got
You got Bill Clinton. Look at he. They hear Hillary's complaining. Oh, they were broke when they left. That's a bunch of BS.
Bite my
They
ass.
made a crap ton of money after that.
yeah.
Like that
Well,
global Clinton Global Initiative Fund that they
well,
skimmed off millions of dollars off of
I
that
think
never
Bill
went. It
Clinton.
wasn't a a charity. It was a
No,
scam.
it was
And
a
weren't
scam.
they weren't
Yeah.
they
Well,
also involved with Blackwater somehow while Bill was still in office?
I think so. Uh, I'll have to stop. I have to stop and look whether I'm gonna have to go back and look for
Yeah.
that. I don't
Let
remember.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but look at it this
Mhm.
way. Poor Bill. He's got a life sentence stuck with Hillary right there. That should, he
Yeah.
needs to be paid. He needs to be paid something putting up with her.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
I mean, but I think what's interesting is how Robert Kennedy Jr. is speaking out about this stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, if it comes down to it, and there was nobody else but somebody like him, Robert Kennedy Jr. would probably be the only Democrat I'd even come close to considering. You know, right now, you know, I won't vote for a
But
Democrat simply because I will vote for whoever the nominee is. But it's good to see somebody, at least one person in all of the Democratic Party is using just a little common sense. It may not be a lot, but he's using a little more than anybody else in that
Mhm.
party seems to be doing. You know,
but the problem with him is you're still going to get liberal policies with him. That's why I believe in party over person. And it just.
well, yeah, and I think I'm not sure who it will hurt, uh, but I'm hoping that maybe he'll be able to put a little bit of hurt into. Yeah, I agree with you, Mickey McH. I don't really trust him either, but
Mhm.
his kind of politics compared to what the the general. He's not a progressive. He is
Right.
he's like his dad and his uncle were. Not his uncle Ted, his uncle John.
Yeah, that
Uh,
other uncle. Yeah.
yeah, the other
Was,
the
yeah,
you know
Ted was a little woohoo.
yeah
No.
Ted was too busy chasing tails to be actually
Yeah.
effective at anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was doing the sandwich maneuver.
yeah, but
No, Mike B, wrong show.
yeah, yeah. I understand somebody won that last night.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
got noted. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
It's going out tomorrow.
Oh, I ain't worried about it. Grant texted me. That's why I was on with him last night on TeamSpeak. I was talking with him for about 2 hours. We were talking about. Yeah, he told me he'd. Which actually, I guess if you put it that way, I've had a pretty good winning streak for the last month now.
Yeah, even
Because
when you don't show up, you win.
yeah. My mate Grant won it, Mike.
So what other wacky stuff has been going? Oh yeah, so I think we talked about it a little bit last week with now New York's getting all the Canadian smoke and the libs are all making it all about climate change. And
No, it's happened because Jim Beauchart sparked up a bowl the size of Yankee Stadium.
there
Yeah,
you
that's
go.
it right there. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. We'll blame it
Yep.
on Beauchart. He came down and saw how nice it was here in the States and went back up there and wanted us to suffer like they do. So he sent,
Hmm.
he went up there and started that and sent all that crap down here. Yeah,
Hmm.
he, you
And
know, but
you know what? I mean, these fires are a naturally occurring thing, and
yeah,
it has nothing to do with man caused. The only thing that is making it worse is because you got environmentalists that won't allow clear cutting and forest management.
yeah, yeah. Uh, Mike, I thought I sent you a gift certificate from that. If I didn't, I'll double check. But I sent you a gift certificate that you could go on there and order your own stuff. Check your email
There you
because
go.
I'm pretty sure I sent one out to you. I'll double check because I was the water cups was a getting all that stuff was a problem. So I just went ahead and gave everybody a gift certificate for that site. So check
There
your
you.
spam email and if you didn't get it, I'll find out. I was wondering if because a couple people I knew have already used theirs.
Hmm.
So uh, so check that, Mike. Anyways, back to the show. I just saw that and thought I better answer him.
So, a few weeks before it was Colorado and the West that was getting a lot of the smoke, and I mean, yeah, it was bad. We were complaining, but we weren't saying, "Oh my God, it's climate change!" Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like making the case. Uh, climate change
It's more
collapsed
like
I-95. Yeah, yeah,
that's another
yeah.
gift that
Uh,
Catskill
uh,
Brad sent me.
just what you needed, another noisemaker for your show.
Well, this is
But
going to be something I'll be giving away. But
ah,
get back to the show. We'll talk about this after the show. So anyway, we got that, and so here's
yeah,
something that's kind of politically related. So what do you think about China salvaging all these war wrecks?
yeah. That
Like some
kind of
of
chapped
them
my
are
cheeks.
totally gone, especially the Dutch cruiser. I forgot what the name of it was, but it's virtually gone. And the Repulse and Prince of Wales, much of those ships are gone. And do you know why they're salvaging those ships?
For the steel.
And what's so special about the steel?
I can't remember what it is. It's the grade of steel that it is.
Is it Japanese
Well,
steel?
sort of. It's pre-atomic era
Pre-atomic
steel.
era. Okay.
Those ships were built during World War One, which
Right.
is a few decades before the first test in 45.
Right.
And so that steel is used in medical equipment.
Hey. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on a second. You guys take over. I'll talk about this.
Alrighty.
Here comes Judy.
Bump you out real quick. And yeah, that's right, Steve. It's non radioactive, so there's no radioactive isotopes in that steel. So anything after 1945, the steel has some radioactive
Yeah,
residual isotope.
minuscule.
Minuscule. Yep. But this pre atomic era doesn't have that. So, like some of the medical equipment, it doesn't. I don't know if it's not non-reactive, but it's pure enough that you get more accurate readings. I guess. What say you, Charles?
Well, I get the gist behind it, but I don't. I haven't looked at the science enough around it to know why. The only thing, the first thing that came to my mind when you talked about that was, I'm thinking of surgeons, surgical steel, not the, being able to operate on a patient without a knife that doesn't have, or forceps or any sort of instrument that doesn't have any amount of, radioactive residue in it. That would be
Mm-hmm.
better for the patient, I'm thinking.
Yeah,
But then I'm also
that's
thinking, well, how are we making our surgical steel nowadays?
yeah. I think it's more for like MRIs or scanning equipment or some kind of
Could be.
equipment that's very sensitive to any type of radiation that might uh, uh, screw up or affect the the outcome or the
Yeah.
whatever they're trying to figure out. What's wrong with you? So and it's not only that, but it just the idea. You're disturbing a war grave, basically. These
Yeah.
are men that have died on that ship, and their bodies are still in those ships. And just recently, they found uh, a Chinese salvage vessel that was over a site of one of those ships, and that that ship and their crew was detained by the Malaysian government. So,
Were they actually in salvage operations, or did?
yeah, they found
Oh,
parts of the ship on their deck. Yeah, they found some gun parts and I guess not the ammunition, but the gun casings.
yeah.
Like that would be brass. Yeah, so
That's funky. It really is weird.
yeah. hmm But
I mean, I know
however,
there's got to
what's
be some
different
point
with
to it, but I can't quite see it right now.
right
I mean, I'm
now,
not I'm not
what's
I'm not
different?
disagreeing with you with your ideas behind why they're doing it. It's just, to my mind, it's just such a bizarre thing that I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. hmm Now, if you go to Scapa Flow, that's a whole different ball game because there are no bodies on those ships because those ships were scuttled. So that's where you have, and also there are agreements with governments around the world. You don't start salvaging, war wrecks, because those are graves of sailors or
Yeah,
airmen and all that. I mean, that's just bad juju in my mind.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
to say the least. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there is, God, it's kind of the Geneva Convention of ship salvaging, to where you don't touch, war wrecks. Unfortunately, the United States is not a signatory of that treaty, but we follow it, where the Chinese signed the treaty, but they don't follow it.
Screw
How
you.
screwed up is that?
Well, that's typical of the Chinese government, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it just leaves a bad taste. Uh, you gotta. It's a piece of history as well. I mean, this is
Hmm.
World War II stuff. You know, important ships like the Prince of Wales and the Repulse. Then you have uh, ships from the Australian Navy, the Dutch Navy, and the United States Navy as well. They even salvaged a heavy cruiser that sunk in what was it, the Java Sea, which is very close to where the Repulse and the Prince of Wales were. Well, you know what? That's a good point, Steve. Although that we did give that sub back to the Russians. Can't hear you, Lloyd.
Sorry. Yeah. Also, we got to keep in mind that a lot, several of these ships were actually sank during the secondary wave of the Japanese attack on when they bombed Darwin,
Berlin?
and no, when they bombed Darwin in
Oh,
Australia. Like on the
yeah.
from because December 7th was Pearl Harbor, but they also on the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th they attacked some of the other islands in that
Mm-hmm.
area down there to take
Mm-hmm.
to set up the control of the South Pacific. And that's
Right?
that's what they were doing. And so a lot of those have been classified by their countries as war memorials or at sea graves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, but see, the Chinese, they don't care. They don't have, they're communists, so they don't have a religion. Their
Mm-hmm.
belief system is different. They just don't care. And this is what people don't
Mm-hmm.
understand. I don't care how good the video game is or how good our phones are, everything else. China is
Mm-hmm.
not our friend, period. End
Nope.
of conversation.
Yep.
And the sooner we accept that, the sooner we can move on to something better. But that's my opinion.
No, I agree. We do entirely too much business with them.
Yeah.
And
They
I
need,
remember being really shocked and dismayed. Uh, Several years ago, I was watching an episode of Dragon's Den on BBC America, and one of the dragons, one of the I don't know what you call the people that come up and try to sell the idea, but one of those folks came up and had a bang up idea, and one of the dragons was saying, "Look, accept my offer because I can do this and this and this and this and this, and I can hire all Chinese people to do it." And I'm thinking, dude, you got people in your own country that need jobs. Why are you trying to, why are you trying to give Chinese folks more jobs? You got people right in your own country that need work and need money.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah, and I
Go
do.
get the AF.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. We tend to go where the, uh, they go where the cost is cheaper. They're when we got people that, and I say flipping hamburgers, but they don't flip hamburgers anymore. They push number two on the microwave. They don't even they don't even cook them at McDonald's anymore. They just microwave them. They're already pre-cooked and frozen, and they just
Mm.
you know. And these people that that push a button for number one, two, or three,
Mm-hmm.
and they're wanting $15 an hour for that high
Oh,
technology
17
scale.
here.
17 now, yeah, $17 an hour now.
Wow.
And yet, yeah. And so when you get to somebody like people who write line code and people who in big manufacturing companies, they're getting anywhere from $25 to $45 an hour.
Yep.
In a lot of these,
Mm-hmm.
we can't compete with that. So we've got to do something different in the way we manufacture. We've got to make it. That's where the trade embargoes come in. That's where we start. We stop the import of Chinese stuff. Yeah, it's going to hurt for a few days, or a few months, but we have a lot of people that are homeless living out there that that could be trained for this. Uh, we have allowed ourselves to be done this way. That's the
Yep.
problem. We've allowed it to go on for so long that it. I don't know whether we'll ever be able to get back to where we once were.
Yep.
Unless
Oh,
there
now
is
you got these Gen Zers that are, they don't want to pull their weight. They complain, I'm not getting enough respect that's due to me. And then you got their parents, complaining to the manager about that. Like, it just really messed up the way.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, but I think this is where the Democrats, I think, are responsible for a large part of this because most of the people that vote Democrat are unions, and unions
Mhm.
are the ones who have allowed this to happen. The unions have actually destroyed our country because they demand high wages
Yeah.
for menial
For
jobs, and
everybody. And
yeah,
then you
everybody.
got some workers that are just terrible. You can't fire them. And
Because
then
they're
the
union.
quality
Yeah,
and that's why our manufacturing is going overseas because we just
yeah,
can't afford to build those things.
yeah. If it's like if you're making a part, let's say it's for a phone, irregardless of what phone it is, but let's say you're making a part for that phone. In order to buy that here in the United States, one chip has to pay somebody. Let's say they can make a chip in 1 minute, so they're getting paid 1 minute's worth of a $45 payment. But
Mm-hmm.
now when you have 60 of those, now you're at $45, but you're buying hundreds of thousands of those chips. Well, you have to pay for the import of the silica that's being used in these silicon chips, and you've got to, which there again, that's we we lost some of that when we left Afghanistan. We lost the ability to get some of that stuff cheap, but nope. And then in the end, it's better to have a place where you're paying, instead of $8 a chip, you're paying 8 cents a chip because you can afford to throw away 50% of those, and
Mm-hmm.
still have enough good ones to go into your device. And you're not losing any money. But when you're paying $8 a chip, because that's what it all adds up to after you add everybody's
Mm-hmm.
wages and their insurance, all this stuff, $8 a chip, you can't afford to throw away very many $8 chips, you know.
Mickey
But when,
McH makes a really good point. Although most of those union jobs are now in the public sector, they're in school,
yeah,
and because it used to be, I think it was upwards of 25% of jobs were unionized, and it just
Yeah,
slowly started going down. Why? Because all those jobs went away because it got too expensive to make
to hire.
those things here, and they went overseas, and that's what happened. It started the collapse
Well,
of the Rust Belt in the United States.
right, and yeah, we only have, even at 25% of those jobs being union at the time, now down to 9%. They were still the ones that did so much politically, you know. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but like we have, we we have teachers unions, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, it just, the unions are what have destroyed the country. They're no longer the powerhouse that they were, but they set the ball in motion, and it just, it's like a snowball
Mm-hmm.
downhill. Eventually, now the unions have outlasted their usefulness, but people are still expecting, well, my dad worked for Ford Motor Company, and he got paid $75 an hour putting bolts on the end of a steering rod.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I get at least $17 an hour for pushing that button that microwaves that hamburger? I deserve it. You know, and that's what we've done. We've allowed this to
Mm-hmm.
happen. The only thing that's going to stop this from happening uh, is a basically a global financial meltdown in which
Mm-hmm.
everything is zeroed out. It's going to have to. We're going to have a major reset.
Well, speaking of
Well,
meltdown,
isn't that
I
we
I,
all
I
what the
realize that, Mickey
WTF is
McH.
looking
I was
for? The Great Reset?
Yeah. You're right, Mickey. I was using that. Obviously, I was exaggerating. I know that no assembly line worker got $75 an hour, uh, and I'm not. What the union was set up to do and what it ended up doing are two different things. It was set up to protect the worker, which I agree with 100% that the worker
yep.
should be
Mm-hmm.
protected, because otherwise you have, uh, like in England in the 1850s, the people that ran the cotton manufacturers. Well, the guys that owned the manufacturing area, uh, the guys that ran they were called master. You had the workers and the master.
Mm-hmm.
Take on, that was the way the English referred to them. They were the masters of that particular plant. But we don't use those terms now because that's indicative of slavery and racism. But
Yeah,
but
especially in
I
fishing.
but yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Uh,
not going to
what
fall for
what I
that
was
one.
getting at was, where Democrats pretty much control these large metropolitan areas, and now they've, pretty much defunded the police, and crime is rampant, and they're not prosecuting. Uh, well, they're letting these shoplifters go. They catch them, and then they give them what's called a PR bond, personal recognizance, and they go out, and then they. Now it's getting to a point where a lot of these big box stores are saying, you know what, screw it, we're closing down this store. And what happens when they shut down those stores? Well, that's rent revenue that's not going to the property owners. Property owners start defaulting on their loans, and
Yep.
then it's going to start a snowball effect, and it's going to be another housing uh, crash. It's going to be even bigger than the one we had in 08 and 09. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's I think it's by design. It's part of the Cloward Piven strategy to bring the country down from within, so that the Democrats could come in and say, well, see, well, we can fix these. We can fix this. Give us more control. And then that's how uh, totalitarian regimes get a foothold.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. And that's. this is a playbook right out of. I mean, in some ways, you're looking at it and go back and look at the Bolshevik Revolution and why
Mm-hmm.
why that started. And well, even go back as far as and look at the French Revolution. Why did it start?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we're headed, unfortunately. And
Yep.
the problem is we're going to be so decimated. I don't know, I don't know
Yeah,
what to think anymore.
the division is getting so wide and so deep that I mean, unity. I heard about we need unity. Like, why? Because one side's going to have to give up something to get this unity, and it's going to be us because we're going to always try to placate with the other side because we want unity. And what's going to happen? I mean, the only way you get unity is when one side loses.
Well, it's not the only way, but unfortunately, it's probably the only way it'll happen. Now,
Mm-hmm.
unity comes when we're united behind a specific
By
thing
cause, yes.
by cause, and that's the only way we did it for a few weeks on 9/11. Is it going to take another 9/11 to wake this
Mm-hmm.
country up? I hope not, but I'm afraid that's where we're headed. We're headed into a situation. Are we going to be like? What was that movie Patrick Swayze was in where the
Oh, Red
uh,
Dawn.
Red Dawn? Yeah, I knew it was Red something. I couldn't remember
Mm-hmm.
it. I was thinking Red Flag, but that's something different. Uh, Red Dawn. It's going to take something like that,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. And I just hope to God I'm not around when it happens.
Yeah,
'Cause
same here.
I
And that's
may be too old, but if that's what's
mhm.
required, I'll do it.
That's why the Philippines is looking better and better for me.
Yeah, but I
Uh,
don't think it's just going to stop here in the States. I think it's going to have a
well,
worldwide.
you may be right, but the
It.
Philippines, because I mean, look at their demographics. They are what 90% Christian and a very small percent Muslim. I
Yeah,
think about 85% Roman Catholic. And then you have
yeah,
all your other Christian groups there. I mean, you don't see this kind of, I hate to say it, bullshit going on over there. You're not
yeah.
hearing, I want this, you address me by this pronoun. You don't see that there.
You
Yes,
don't see that
there are
in a lot of
gay
countries.
people there and they accept the gay people, but you know what? Those people aren't, you know, you better accept me no matter what.
Yeah, yeah. The stuff that people here, we are probably the only country, or one of the only a couple countries that are accepting this as a reality. That anytime somebody comes out and protests against that, well, they're considered a racist, a homophobe, or blah 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 blah,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And we've allowed this cancel culture to scare people. Just like I was just reading today, uh, Mumfords, and I can't remember the name of their band, but one of the guys quit because you know, he got canceled because he spoke out against something on
Yeah,
Twitter, and he got
remember
canceled.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and but he's in a better place now. He's doing better. And he stood up for what he believed in, and that's the problem. We got too many people that are scared. Uh, it's real simple. If you stand up for something and you get fired from your job because of that, how easy will it be because if everybody did that, it would be hard to replace everybody because this generation we got now, they don't want to work. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, there's a lot of them that do, but there's a lot of them that don't.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, you see it everywhere. That's the reason there's that's the reason service is so crappy at so many places because they don't have anybody who is willing to put in the hours and the time and do the job.
Right.
And So if everybody stood up and said we won't take this anymore, maybe then, you know. But
Yep.
like I said, I don't. Unfortunately, Americans are too damn nice for their own good,
Mhm. Yeah,
especially conservatives.
one of my favorite songs is by Twisted Sister. We're not gonna take it. No, we're
Yeah,
not gonna take it anymore.
and that's the way it should be. But it's
Mm-hmm.
going to take something like 9/11 or some other thing like that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're dumping money into the Ukraine like we have. You know, like
Right.
we're why don't we just open up Fort Knox, let them come over and get what gold is left, and let them just take it over there
There
and
you go.
make their own damn weapons. You know. But no, we're pumping money into Ukraine. The Ukrainian people, they don't deserve to have to live in a
Mm-hmm.
fight, but their government and our government thought it would be a good idea to fight the Russians. Okay,
You know
but yet
what?
we'll let
Make it a
China.
challenge. You got a plexiglass spot. You put a gold bar in, and whoever could get that bar out of that little hole, just keep. And I've seen some people do it, and it's not easy
Yeah, yeah.
because that
But it's
hole
just
is
like,
just big enough for your hand to fit.
what are we going to do? What are we going to do for our? What are we going to do when we need those arms and those weapons? You know,
Yeah, that's
we're
right. Mm-hmm.
we don't have right
Yeah.
now. And this reminds me of when Jimmy Carter was president. Our Air Force was so bad that in during the financial crisis in 1997, when they shut down the government uh, for that, one, they told us not to wear our uniforms into work because we had not been paid. The military was officially shut down. We had to be there, but it was the military had officially run out of money on that day. So
Hmm.
until it got signed and passed, we had to. They told us, at least on our base, not to wear our uniform. It was finally signed, and the checks were made payable about 3:30 that afternoon. There's only 30 minutes left in the shift. They said, "Don't worry about it," you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't during that time period. We did not. We could not get one squadron of airplanes on our base that were all up to code. You know, they were
Wow.
all, and we actually had to go out to the mothball because I was at Davis Monthan where all the old planes are stored. We actually had to go out there and cannibalize some of those old planes to get parts for some of the newer ones. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because some of the stuff was the same. We just had to find the parts that we needed, and so we had to go there because we couldn't get the parts in. You know, and that was under Jimmy Carter. And it's going to be worse this time around if things keep going like they are.
All right, folks, we've made it a little over an hour. I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming, and especially Nancy, all the way from the Philippines. And I want to thank everybody for coming to the show. You guys have a great week. And oh, by the way, it is a holiday in the Philippines. It's Independence Day today.
Ah, okay. Good for them.
So
Happy Independence
take
Day.
care, everybody, and
Good night, folks.
no show next week. It's Father's Day, so we'll be back in 2 weeks. Take care,
All right.
everybody, and good night.